So, in part 2, I sealed and prepared the desk for gluing on the Formica top and made this curved oak trim for the desk. If you haven't already, you might want to check out part 1 and 2 before watching this video. I'm unrolling the white Formica that will be glued onto the MDF top. The desk is 1455mm long, so I am measuring the distance plus a little bit extra to trim off. I then marked a line at that point. Now I am marking a line 500mm plus 50mm extra for the slim part of the desk. I'm just double checking my measurements here because I don't want to mess up this nice new Formica. And again, I'm just not prepared to take any risks here. So I'm going to start by lightly scoring a line with a Stanley knife and then going over it again and again until it's deep enough to break along the cut line. I then lifted up the sheet to make a final break along the cut line. And then this happened. Only me to blame, but thank goodness for second chances in life. My sadness quickly turned to hope when I realised the total length of the Formica was over 3 meters long and I still had enough to cover the desk in one sheet. All I had to do was not mess up with the next cut. But this is a curved desk, so why am I cutting it square? The cut I am making here would have been okay if the desk had not been curved, so I have now blown my second chance at getting this right. This was a costly mistake and unfortunately one I just need to live with. It would have been nice to have got this done with no breaks in the sheet, but I'm still happy with the result, and once the desk is in position, the cut line will be far enough back not to be too noticeable. And there are a lot of other options for hiding the joint. For example, I could build a platform on top of the desk, shelves or a power unit for keeping cables tidy, etc. So there are plenty of options for overcoming this issue. So I am now pouring on the contact adhesive. This is a glue that works as a result of a chemical reaction when two glued but completely dried in surfaces come into contact, hence the name contact adhesive. So the idea is to spread this on very thin and evenly to both surfaces and then wait until it dries. Now this is the cutting I'm going to be piecing in at the back. It's not too big. I'm now just brushing off the MDF desktop just before applying the glue. After about 3/4 of an hour, the glue surfaces were touch dry and ready for bonding. I placed some thin pieces of wood across the table to keep the two surfaces apart until I had correctly positioned the Formica. I'm now taking measurements to keep the edge of the Formica parallel to the edge of the MDF desk. Then, starting from the middle, I removed the battens one by one and pressed the Formica firmly into the desk surface, spreading from the centre out to the edges. I continued this until I was satisfied the Formica was well stuck down across the entire surface. Then, with the patch piece, it was a case of making sure the joint was tight and parallel, but more or less the same technique. This left a bit of glue residue on top at the joint, but I later cleaned this off using white spirit. I trimmed the laminate flush with a flush trim bit and a palm router. just blowing off the dust using an airline. Having put in so much work to create a bent trim, I didn't want to put nails through it, so the wood will be attached with standard wood glue alone, but to do this I need to add a piece of MDF onto the side to act as a clamping point. I'm using the wood to help me gauge the correct angle to cut the MDF. And this is it now attached, just by drilling and using 2 screws to hold it in place. I'm just doing a dry fit to make sure everything will go together correctly when the glue is applied. I made these small curved pads to protect the oak trim when clamping. Next I applied the glue to the desk using a 2-inch paintbrush. I prefer to use a brush when applying glue because I feel it just gives me really good control over the glue. I was trying not to over tighten the clamps until I was completely satisfied the oak was perfectly level with the surface of the Formica. I used the back edge of a chisel to carefully scrape away the excess glue. Looking at this, I was probably a little bit excessive with the glue, probably due to the fact that this is all that will be holding on the trim. I then cut off the protruding end of the trim using a standard handsaw. I then carefully marked a 45-degree angle for a miter cut and cut this also with a standard handsaw. Perhaps I could have made this a little bit easier on myself by marking it well clamped for the dry fit and then cutting it while not attached to the desk. I then cleaned the miter up a little bit with a chisel. I then cut a miter in the oak trim and tried it against the miter on the desk. Next I could apply glue to the desk and oak trim, and because this was not really seen, I attached this part with a nail gun. After about 3 hours I removed the clamps. Then I gave the oak trim a final scrape with the back side of a chisel. And the last thing I did was clean up the miter joint with a block of wood and some sandpaper. And that was the desk complete and ready to install.